Harry has come under fire for his new Invictus documentary after accusing the media of ignoring the plight of the armed forces in Afghanistan.
3 young British soldiers, all wrapped in plastic and their bodies in pieces. I saw what only people had talked about. That was the real trigger for I'm now seeing the real cost of war. Stepping foot off the plane, I was angry that this has happened to these guys. I was angry that the media weren't covering it.
Well, it's not the first time the phrase recollections may vary that it's been uttered in relation to Prince Harry. You may remember the late Queen famously used it after his sit-down interview with Oprah Winfrey.
Well, joining us now is royal commentator Caroline Aston. Hello, Caroline. Thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure.
Do you not think it's such a shame that the conversation has now moved on from the incredible bravery of the people who are taking part in the Invictus Games and is now focused once again on Harry?
I think it's tragic because I think, like most people, when we heard that the Invictus Games, this jewel in the crown that Harry told us so publicly he would never wear as a spare, but definitely one of the great things that he's achieved in his life, was going to be the subject of a very well-produced, it has to be said, docu-series, Invictus, Unconquerable. Here was going to be something to lift our spirits, to showcase the grit, the courage, and the survival of so many people broken in mind and body. And the programme, we hoped, was going to be about them. But like a black thread running through a golden tapestry, we have Harry coming up with statements that really shown to be not quite as we remember them. Selective memory, shall we say. And of course, today there's been a forensic analysis that shows quite clearly that he is in error, shall we say, a little mistaken in some of the claims he's made. And of course, many ex-servicemen have taken to social media to say that they are really not happy with a lot of what he's said.
I mean, certainly his statements seem to contradict each other as you look back through the timeline. And again, and I think you're right here, Invictus Games is so brilliant, so fantastic. It's an amazing initiative. And yet again, we're back talking about Harry. What do you think this does for brand Sussex? And also just in terms of the relationship with his brother and with his father?
Well, of course, the fact is we know that years before he got married, William had said to Harry, look, you need help. You need to get proper counselling. So the idea that no one was listening to him, and of course there were people, his own private secretaries with direct knowledge of military service and the cost of it to the minds and bodies of active servicemen. He had access to all these people. Myself, I think the gulf between William and Harry is vast. That smell of smoke in the air is the bridge finally burning out and collapsing down into the water for the foreseeable future. But myself, I really can't equate this continual return to victimhood. Whatever he seems to touch, he brings that in. And I think it's a shame because in a way it tarnishes the theme of this docu-series. It isn't about you, Harry.
Do you not think we're guilty, though, I think I'm speaking generally, as Harry does often, of the media as a whole? We're guilty of putting that label on him that he's making himself a victim, whereas I would argue, and many other people on the other side of the argument do say, that the fact that he's speaking up about this is not him claiming victimhood. He's just taking agency over his own experiences, deciding to talk about them and help another cause, and yet we're talking about him rather than the actual cause itself, which is what he's trying to highlight.
But it's in the documentary.
No, I understand.
It's exactly, and I would just say this to you, I accept exactly. Possibly another of the truly great things he's done is to focus public attention on mental health, that it's okay to talk about it. And he makes the point, quite rightly, that when we talk of mental health, we're often referring to mental illness when he wants to talk about mental fitness, overcoming this. But the trouble is, he says it again and again and again. And I think his problem here is that he's causing a degree of Sussex fatigue when actually his message is a good one. But surely at the heart of this beautifully produced docu-series is the people who have suffered. And yes, Harry has suffered, but he's been suffering now for 26 years. And if someone with access to the huge resources he has as a privileged celebrity royal, if he can't hack it, get through these problems with all of the help at his behest here, what on earth chance is there for the rest of us? It's a thought that comes to me frequently, though I agree, I congratulate him on focusing, but maybe there should be a little less emphasis in this on him, because it is drawing attention from these amazing
I would also,
ex-servicemen.
well, let me just counter that. Surely it's also in the documentary maker's gift, because they've included this to make a story, haven't they? So there is no doubt in my mind that he is a deeply traumatized man. He obviously went through some terrible trauma when he was younger. He clearly has demons. I think, personally, he needs help. But clearly, also, the documentary was made, I know it was made under his auspices, but it is also trying to tease out that narrative, put it in context with the Invictus Games as well.
I would agree with you, but of course he also knows that there's a lot riding on this docu-series. He really does know this. If you remember, not that long ago, there was some talk of Netflix dropping the Sussex brand after Spotify let them go after Meghan's Archetypes podcast. So there's a lot here. This must be a success for him. And I'm just so sorry that something that is so uplifting, and it really genuinely is. I defy anyone to watch some of these stories without a tear coming to the eye. And it's just already going really rather wrong.